Hello everyone to a video that I wanted to make for a very long time. Now, the Arkham series is one of my favorite video game franchises of all time. All of the games I think are very freaking solid, but there's one question that I've been begging to ask myself and basically everyone out there. What is the best Arkham game out of all four of them? I'm counting Origins, and I've had to ask myself that question many times. And today I'm actually going to put an end to that question with the ranking of the Arkham games. Now, how this is going to go, I've got a script right here so that my video has more of an organized feel. I don't usually write scripts, but this time I do. So, this is how it's going to go. I am going to run down categories. Categories like story, blank, 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 all that stuff. And compare the four games as to which one did it the best and how many points that game accumulates based on how well they did the category. Like, say, story. First place, the best story in all of the games, gets 4 points. Second place gets 3 points. Third place gets 2. Fourth place gets 1. And a lot of other YouTubers have done this format, but I just thought I'd give my own 2 cents on which Arkham game is my favorite, because I love this series so goddamn much. There might be some controversial opinions in here, but hey, that's my channel. Let's do it. Without further ado, let's do my ranking of the Arkham games. In regards to story, I have to say Arkham City did it the best. Now, not to say that any of the other games are bad, I just think the way that they balanced multiple villains in the game while also having a bunch of side quests and you know, the Joker and Hugo Strange Protocol 10, and not to mention killing the Joker. What a major bombshell to drop. That just, Arkham City had the best story, so that is number 1 for this category. Second place is Arkham Asylum. Now, it's rather a simplistic story, with Joker taking over the asylum and Batman to regain control of the entire place. It's rather simplistic, but boy, is it awesome. Playing like a Metroidvania style game where you have to gain upgrades to gain access to points that you weren't able to gain access to before. I just love the story in that game, and Joker is such a great villain, taunting you and throwing things at you throughout the entire duration of the Asylum playthrough. I love that story. It's number 2nd. Number 2nd? Okay, that does. Coming in at 3rd place is Batman Arkham Knight. Now, I did have a few problems with this game's story. Of course, Paul Dini dropped down as a writer when he wrote a few episodes of the animated series and the first 2 Arkham games. Now, you can also tell that a writing drop was felt in this game, and I don't blame the writers for what they had. It was pretty dang good. I also did not like that they made Arkham Knight Jason Todd. Have I mentioned that there's going to be spoilers in this video? There's going to be spoilers in this video. I thought that was a very cop-out reveal, and I did not like it one bit. But it still had its moments. It had its moments with Joker trying to get into Batman's head with his infected Joker blood. And that made for some great scenes where Joker showed up all around the place, taunting Batman like he did in Asylum. Joker just makes for an amazing villain in every single game. I almost feel as though that Scarecrow was taken very not seriously. I mean, he barely had any role in this game at all, and Arkham Knight just kind of... Scarecrow and Arkham Knight, they took a backseat to Joker again. I mean, he's a great villain, but, you know, I was hoping for some actual original characters, and the fact that Arkham Knight turned out to be Jason Todd just made everything worse. I think the game could have been balanced better, but it's still a great story, because it has its moment. And in last place is Arkham Origins. Now, I don't hate this game's story. In fact, I really liked it when it first came out. But the fact that you have 8 assassins going after Batman in one night, that makes for an amazing story. But I felt like the assassins were very underutilized. And the fact that they all took a backseat to the Joker once again, with Black Mask turning out to be the Joker in disguise, that just kind of ticked me off a little bit. But, you know, none of these games' story are bad. I think they're all good. They all have their own merits, but the fact that the assassins took a backseat, you know, 2 of them being side missions, and then one of them not even being a boss or an electrocutioner, but just being an absolute joke, and the others, while good, just didn't hold up as well as the developers might have wanted them to. You've also got the whole thing where Arkham Origins is actually a prequel, and the fact that they're all at the 80 Assassins, where you know that Batman's going to live, and there isn't really any tension there. And the game even tries to fake you out that Alfred's going to die at some point, and it's not really believable at all because we know he's in Arkham City. So I feel like some of the game story like didn't have the weight that I think it wasn't. Now I know what you might be thinking, Arkham Asylum is at a huge disadvantage here, and you'd be right. Sadly, Arkham Asylum comes last because it was the first game, and you know, although it did create all the gadgets that were to appear in the later games, it's just the gameplay feels really slow compared to the later games, and that's just the sad fact. So sadly, Arkham Asylum, sorry, has come last in this category. So yeah, Arkham Asylum. Next up is Batman Arkham Origins. Hooey! Batman Arkham Origins gets in the bottom two again. I don't know why I'm going from least good to most good this time. Anyway, Arkham Origins comes third in this category because the gameplay isn't fresh enough to warrant it being a new actual game. Now, the gameplay stays mostly the same throughout the series, but Arkham Origins didn't really feel as fresh or as, to be honest, fun to play as the other games. But it does have some good gameplay, I'll give it that. But I just don't think the gameplay was fresh enough. And you know, the gadgets weren't as inventive or anything than the other. So Arkham Origins comes third in this category. Coming in at second place is Arkham City. Now, the Arkham City compared to Arkham Asylum was a major improvement. It being introducing a lot of new combat fluency and new abilities and gameplay compared to Asylum. Now, just for that reason alone, it comes second. And although it's not as fluid or as satisfying as Arkham Knight, I still give it second place due to just how much it improved on the previous game's gameplay. So there's Arkham City coming at a nice little second place. Mwah. And of course, at number first place, what do I keep doing there? First place, we have Batman Arkham Knight, the most recent Arkham game and possibly the last one. It has the most refined and beautiful, satisfying gameplay of all the games, so of course it's going to be number one in gameplay. This whole category was maybe a bit unfair, but anyway, I still love Arkham Knight's gameplay to bits just because it introduced sphere takedowns, it introduced new gadgets, not to mention the goddamn Batmobile, dude. Even though I did feel like it was overused a tiny bit, Arkham Knight still comes first in this category. Now for this category, I'm doing something a little different. I'm ranking the side quests based on how fun they are, how much the game makes you want to do them, and just how the side quests are presented in terms of the story. So that's how I'm going to be ranking the side quests, just for some info. Now with what I just said there, obviously the winner has to be Batman Arkham Knight, just because of, as you progress through the story, you are greeted by the side quest in plain view, and the villain of the side quest usually taunts you, and you have the decision to either continue the story or follow the side quest. But the beginning of the side quests are always given to you through the main story, making you pay attention to them. So definitely Batman Arkham Knight, just because of how well they wanted you to do them. And also freaking Man-Bat, dude, like freaking Jesus Christ, is he awesome. Arkham Knight Best side quest, also the most fun too, in my opinion. In second place is Arkham City, mainly because of that one Azrael mission. There's so much foreshadowing and ambiguity to what Azrael says in the side mission that I just think is one of the best side missions in gaming. And also all the other side missions are pretty damn good too, like the Riddler, as I said, Azrael, oh dear, they're escaping me right now. The Hush one was absolutely fantastic, but I don't know if the game really persuaded you to do them as much, maybe as the developers would have liked. Maybe integrate them a little bit more into the main story, and maybe that could have earned it the top spot on the list, but for now, Arkham City has amazing side missions. Arkham Origins kind of wins against Asylum by default because Arkham Asylum didn't really have any side quests other than the Riddler trophies. So Arkham Origins wins by default here because they had actual side missions. I'm so sorry, Asylum, but I'm gonna have to give it to Origins, and that concludes this category of side quests. The Shiva fight was pretty sick. What I mean by best atmosphere or aesthetic is basically what game made you feel like you were Batman, like you were living in the world of Batman, and what game made you feel as though you were in a comic book, or you know, in Batman's universe, you know, like that kind of thing. Just to preface.
Take patient interview. Subject has no recorded name. Alias listed as the Joker. In the room is Warden Sharp and myself, Dr. Young.
Oh, is this another one of those boring psych evaluation tests?
No, it's not. So, you're the famous Joker.
In the flesh. So, Doc, do you want me to look at the ink blots again? The first one is a kitten I had when I was a child. The second is, let's see, a dead elephant. The third is a...
Funny. Now let's skip the jokes.
Skip the jokes? Hey, Sharpie, didn't she get my permanent record? Be quiet, clown.
Every doctor that has ever interviewed you claims a different type of psychosis. Everything from multiple personality disorders to, well, the list is endless.
I do my best.
Well, I don't believe it. Anything can be cured given the correct treatment.
And you think you can cure me?
Oh, I know I can.
And that collectible, my friends, is the reason why Arkham Asylum gets the top spot in this category. I love Arkham Asylum's setting. The whole game takes place in Arkham Asylum, where inmates have been locked up, and famous Batman villains have been roaming around the asylum, and you always get the sense that you're living in Batman's world when you're roaming this place. And these collectibles, these tapes, just give you so much more insight as to what really went on in the asylum, and gives you so much more depth to these characters that you never even see that much in the game. And I love them because, you know, they get an interview by doctors and stuff. And even when you're playing the game itself, like when you're walking through a hallway, you'll hear that little chime, dun 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 dun, and then it's saying paging Dr. Joker, and then Joker will come on the comms and saying, "We've got a bat problem," or something like that. I just love Arkham Asylum's setting, and that's why it gets 4 points in the category. Love it to bits. Best of all of them. Second place is Arkham City. Now, I give it to Arkham City second place because of the sheer amount of detail and stuff that just went into the game's setting. All the villains that you encounter throughout the game make you feel like you're living in Batman's world, and it's so great. All the villains show up in this game and it's so damn good because you feel like you're protecting Gotham, honestly, from the bad dudes, and that's what a Batman game should do. And Arkham City does it really well. Not as well as Asylum, because in my personal opinion, less is more. But I no knocking Arkham City when it comes to this. It does it really freaking well. Then we've got Arkham Knight, which does it really freaking well as well. Not as good as City, but it still does it really freaking well with all the villains. You know, you really get the sense that you're in a comic book and you're protecting Gotham, right? You feel like you're Batman, being a freaking badass, and you know, I think all the detail and love put into the city's design and gameplay really shows off in this. I think all these games do it really freaking well, but I'm just going to put Arkham Knight in third place because I slightly like a cities and Asylum setting a tiny bit more, but Arkham Knight does it really freaking well. Based on what you guys are seeing, it probably seems like I freaking hate Origins, which is not true at all. I think it's a great game, but it's just not as good as the other three. I think it was pretty obvious that it wasn't going to win from the start, but sadly this means Arkham Origins will be in last place. But we still have one more category to go, and let's do it. I really freaking like Origins. I don't want anyone to get it twisted. I like Origins, just not as much as the other three. But let's just get into the final category.
Have it. Everything depends on it.
This is not a time for negotiation.
You will bring me Nora, or you will die.
Riddle me this. I know you work for Riddler.
Don't hurt me. I'll tell you everything.
These challenges are far beyond a mind such as yours. Explore! Find my challenges! And when you fail to solve them and lie blubbering like an ignorant child on the floor, you will know that the Riddler is better than you.
Now I know you guys are probably thinking, Cage, obviously it's Arkham City or Arkham Knight, right? They have the most villains, it's the freaking best, right? Yeah, well, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna give the first place to Arkham City. Yeah, because it had the right variety of villains inside missions and the main story. So first place goes to Arkham City. It gets 4 points because of Mr. Freeze and Riddler. Those two especially were fantastic in this game, and that's why it gets first place. I freaking love those villains in this game, especially Riddler. He's done so well, and he's done justice in this game. But with the second place, I'm gonna go with a choice that maybe you weren't thinking of. Arkham Asylum. Now, I know what you're all saying. Cage, Arkham Asylum has no villains except for Joker and maybe Riddler, right? Poison Ivy, Bane, yeah, so what? Remember when I said less is more? Yeah, well this applies directly to Arkham Asylum. Back when I was little, right, when I first got this game, I would collect all of these character bios through riddles and such, right? I would read every one of them, and I would remember being absolutely fascinated with every little fact, every little nook and cranny of character in these villains that weren't even in the game, but there were Easter eggs to these certain villains. Like, you know how cool it was for me to walk into a cell and see Two-Face, Harvey Dent for District Attorney posters all over the wall. I thought to myself, this is Two-Face's cell. And when you walk into the electrified floor room and you see Mr. Freeze's cell, right? Yeah. And then you walk into the sewers and you see Killer Croc. And not to mention Scarecrow, who has the best segments in the game, no doubt. Those little Easter eggs blew my mind when I was little. The hint to something greater out there, that these villains existed somewhere but didn't show up in the game, somehow made it better for me. But sadly, I had to give it to Arkham City just because of those villains appearing. I'm giving Arkham Asylum second place because less is more, and to that, little me was just so blown away by all these hints and Easter eggs to something larger, all the villains out there, seeing the individual cells, that just put a big old smile on my face. So Arkham Asylum, second place. And then of course we have Arkham Knight, and that means Arkham Origins comes last in another category. So sad. The reason Arkham Knight is in third place is because, well, it had even more villains in the city. Like, you would think it would come first, right? Because it had more villains. No, they pushed Scarecrow to the back. Arguably the coolest part of the game, coolest part of Asylum. They pushed him back. And Arkham Knight, he turned out to be Jason Todd. Rather lame villain, in my opinion. I did not like that reveal, and they made Joker the main villain again. Well, not the main villain, but they made him like a driving force in the game again, which I'm fine with because I love the Joker. But I don't know, it just they just pushed the Scarecrow to the back, and I didn't really like that, to be honest. I think all the other villains could have had more of a role in the story, but most of them were reduced to side missions, which is quite a shame indeed. But that leaves Arkham Knight at third place. Still a fantastic game though. Let's check the final scoreboards. We have Batman Arkham Asylum on 12, Batman Arkham City on 17, Batman Arkham Origins on 7, and Batman Arkham Knight on 14. Now I would say that's pretty close to how I feel, but not quite. You see, I'm going to admit something here. Arkham City is the best game out of all of them. I can admit that. I think it's the most well made. I think it has the best story. I think it's the best game out of all four, right? Yep, I can admit that. Love Arkham City. But Arkham Asylum is my personal favorite. So pretty much this whole scoring system, while it has given inklings to my real opinions and it is a good system, it didn't really give me the result I wanted. Even though everything it showed Arkham Asylum came in third place, according to the point system, Arkham Asylum is my personal favourite. But I can still admit that Arkham City is the best, if that makes sense. You know, sometimes you just have a personal favourite but you can admit something else is better. That's kind of me. I think Arkham Asylum is my personal favourite. I think Arkham Asylum and City are both 10 out of 10 perfect games. But I like Arkham Asylum a tiny bit more. Just because of that setting and that atmosphere, I love both the games to death though. Arkham Knight is third with a 9 out of 10. Some of the things in the game were a bit iffy. And then Arkham Origins is an 8 out of 10. I still think that's a great game, but not quite on the level of the other 3 games. That is pretty much my video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. This is one of my longest videos pretty much ever, and it was my first scripted one, so I had a lot of fun making this with you guys. Hopefully this is giving you a little bit of an insight as to how I feel about this series, because I love it so goddamn much. But I've been Cage. Stay wonderful, stay beautiful, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm Batman!